Kylo, I need to get to Kylo. You could feel rage bubbling in your veins, but strangely enough, you couldn't see anything. There was a steady black pitch in front of your vision, but your eyes were open. You were sure of it. You were awake. You could feel sensations, although you weren't quite sure if that was how to really describe them. You thought you felt your fingers brush against fabric. You thought your fingers moved against the cool steel of a metal bar, but you couldn't be sure if these were memories from your past, something you were currently imagining, or if it was something that you were actively experiencing. Kylo is trapped. He's in danger. I need to get to him. You could feel a sudden jolt of pain, and all at once it felt like there was a physical thread knotted into the center of your chest. You weren't quite sure if it was there. You couldn't see it, but you could feel as though there was a cord stitched tight into your flesh that seemed to pull you forward, and you let it. You did not resist. It did not matter how it got there. It would take you to Kylo. You were sure of it. Except that when you tried to get up, you felt hands on your arms pushing you back down. That was strange. You couldn't feel anything holding you down, but when you tried to get back up again, there it was, those same hands pushing you back down. They're coming for you. You're in danger. You need to get out. You didn't recognize that voice. It sounded so familiar, and yet you couldn't place it. What? Kylo? Something beeps next to your ear, and it sounds almost familiar, although you can't place where you had heard it last. They're going to put you down. They know what you did. You're a risk. You can feel something tug at the inside of your arm, and just for a moment you think you can see a room with white walls and the shape of someone standing by your bedside. For just a moment you think you can hear a woman talking, but it's so brief that you can barely be sure you heard her before you link everything together. The electronic beep, the white walls, the woman talking. You were back in the med bay, and the realization made you all sorts of uncomfortable. They're going to put you down. You need to help me get out of here. I can help you escape. Kylo, are you okay? Don't worry about me. I'll be fine here. Are you hurt? You're not fine. What they've done to me, they'll do to you next. We need to take Annie and leave this place. Immediately. What did they do to you, Kylo? Show. Before you can even finish your sentence, the pain in your head becomes overbearing. It feels almost as though someone is literally gripping your skull as hard as they can, applying so much pressure to your forehead with their thumbs that you feel as though your skull is going to shatter like glass, and they're going to stick their thumbs straight through the goopy mess inside your brain. You immediately hold up your hands to your head and twist your fists in your hair as you grit your teeth and kick against the pain, but it doesn't let up. You're crying now, barely able to breathe, and the pain is so severe that you think for a moment that you are quite literally dying of pain, that your body physically can't take anymore, and your nerves are simply going to collapse under the strain of transmitting such an enormous sense of energy. Finally, it stops, although it's more like a snap, the pain being replaced with a cold sense of fury. I need to find Kylo. You sit straight up, and although you can feel someone's hand on your shoulder, you grab it and twist it painfully away from you. You think you can hear a cry of pain, but you feel surprisingly calm. Suddenly, there's another hand at your shoulder, stronger, and it's not so easy for you to push this one away. You still can't see anything beyond the black pitch, but you think you can see shapes moving around in the darkness, and you grab the person's arm as you twist it forward, throwing them to the floor as you start to get up. There's all sorts of noises now, like people stampeding around the room, but you can't really tell how many people are actually there, or if your mind is just making them up, twisting the shadows in the corners of your vision into sentient forms. Either way, It hardly mattered. You needed to get to Kylo. You can feel people trying to stop you, restrain you, but they're suddenly like toys to you, their bodies weightless, like paper dolls, underneath the force of your power. The Force. Suddenly you channel it, using it to push everything and everyone away from you, and you think you can hear furniture sliding across the room, even though you still don't have any idea where you are. Instead, you stride forward, compelled by the tug of the thread anchored in your chest. You can feel more people trying to stop you. It's like you're wading through a crowd, but to you it's almost as if they don't exist on your blind search to find Kylo, to free him, to help him escape. For a brief moment, you don't know anyone else, not even Annie. Only Kylo penetrates your thoughts, and it's like you have become a robot whose sole purpose is to find Kylo and help free him. That is all you were. Everything you were, or would be, was in relation to him. There was no room for any doubt in your mind. Stop! You hear a voice now, loud and clear in the penetrating silence that seemed to replace the small sounds of life that you had heard earlier. You're not quite sure who it is, but you can sense some form in front of you, small yet powerful. Your mouth contorts into a smirk as you sneer at her, not fully aware of your own actions. The Scavenger. I've never seen this before, Ray admits hesitantly, but her voice is loud, reverberating around your skull. I think the doctors gave you something. They're going to kill me, you tell her, and then they're going to kill him. I need to help him escape. They're not going to. They are. They took him. You did this. You and the Resistance have been using me and manipulating me for years. Kylo is the only person who has ever truly cared about me, the only one that has ever put me first, above your petty squabble with the First Order. This isn't you talking right now. Try to think back. Do you remember my name? You're the Scavenger. Suddenly, another thought strikes you from out of the depths of your mind. You're the one that scarred him. You could have killed him. Ray says your name, but it takes you a few moments to pick up on the fact that she's speaking directly to you. You need to focus. You are mentally weak right now, and I am not weak, you practically shriek, and you shout so hard that your vocal cords strain in your neck. You can feel a sense of power brewing in you that you know without a doubt is coming from the dark side, and for once, you don't try to fight it. You surrender to it, let it overwhelm you, let it make you stronger. Without even really knowing what you're doing, you stretch forward one hand and you can hear Ray gasp as she struggles to suck in a breath, and you idly wonder if you're force choking her with a drained sense of apathy as she hovers in the air before you. You had never been able to do that before, but maybe this was a sign that you were getting stronger. It didn't even occur to you that it was probably Kylo's strength that was running through your veins right now as you casually toss her body aside. You didn't want to kill her. You had no urge to kill or destroy or even attack. You just had to get to Kylo, to free him. That was your objective, the only thing that mattered. I need to free Kylo. Come after me, and I will kill you. Suddenly there was another force in front of you, not just a figure or a presence, but a force that was so powerful it almost made you cower back for a second, although in that moment you could almost feel Kylo split himself from you, as if he was trying to draw away. Suddenly you feel two firm hands on either side of your head, but this time you don't even try to fight it. His power is overwhelming, and you're not quite sure if you're in awe or afraid, but it feels almost as though it could tear you apart at any second. You hear someone saying your name, and it's a man's voice, older, just a bit coarse, and for a split second you open your eyes and you can see everything. You're in the med bay. You can tell by the familiar white walls, But there is a man standing in front of you, and your eyes are immediately drawn to his face, to the sharp crystal blue of his eyes. You're transfixed for a moment, and you can't look away as he centers his energy on you. His mouth is moving, like he's saying something, but you can't hear anything. The world is silent around you, and you can't remember if it had always been that way, or if this was something that he was doing to you. Out of the corner of your eye, you can see Ray stand up behind you, rubbing her neck. "It's all right," she tells you, her voice soft and gentle, even considering what you had just done. "Just let him in. You won't remember." But you've already closed your eyes and given into it, and for a moment you don't feel anything. You don't feel Kylo, you don't feel Ray, or the force of the man in front of you. You can't feel anything. The darkness in front of your vision is suddenly replaced by a blistering, brilliant white, but it's almost comforting, and you let yourself surrender to it as you feel yourself drop to the floor. The man catches you. You can feel yourself in his arms, and you can feel the heel of his palm press against your temple. You feel your pulse under the pressure of his hands, and for a moment you feel dizzy and weightless before you surrender to it completely. When you finally awoke, you found yourself lying on a bed in the medbay, surrounded on all sides by starchy white walls. You blinked a few times to clear your vision before you forced yourself into a seated position, trying to ignore the kink in your neck as you stretched it from side to side. You looked down at yourself to see a series of tubes inserted in your arms, one thin one inserted into the vein in the back of your right hand, and one inserted into the crook of your left elbow. Just looking at them made you shudder. You quickly ripped off the tape covering the one over your right hand, gently coaxing the needle out of you with your thumb. You shook out your fingers and made a fist a handful of times before you turned your attention to the other one, watching your skin lift off your arm as it stuck to the adhesive. You closed your eyes and made a face as you slowly pulled upwards, gently pulling the needle out of this arm as well. The inside of your elbow felt sore, and you didn't want to make anything worse by bending it, but the truth was that you felt seriously weak, and you hated that feeling more than you could possibly imagine. "I think you're supposed to leave those in." You rolled to the side to see Poe lying on his own bed on the other side of the room. You should be glad to see that the color has returned to his cheeks, be glad to see that he's okay, but the only thing that crosses your mind is the fact that this is the first time that you're seeing him shirtless, with a large white bandage wrapped around his abdomen. For some reason, you're irritated by this realization. "I fucking hate needles," you tell him as you look down at yourself, making sure there's no more stuck in you in any unnecessary places. That's also when you realize that you're not wearing any clothes and are instead covered with some loose fabric sheet that you didn't think was sealed in the back, making getting up in front of Poe a very interesting decision, should you choose to make it. "And where the fuck are my clothes?" Poe just laughs at you, shaking his head as he gnaws on the corner of his bottom lip. Someone's still angry. You're about to ask him what that means when Ladsing comes through the door, Annie leading the charge. "Mommy!" Annie immediately jumps onto your bed as he crawls towards you, and you can't help but scoop him up in your arms, burying your nose in his hair as you inhale his scent. There's my little guy," you tell him, holding him at arm's length. "See, didn't I tell you I'd come back?" Ladson stands awkwardly at the foot of your bed, shuffling from foot to foot, and you tilt your head to the side. "Well, don't you look all doom and gloom." He just looks down into the side, and you can feel the hairs on your neck stand on end as if you wonder if something has happened to Kylo. "Where is he? Is he okay?" Ladson turns to Poe, and they share a look that you don't understand. "She doing any better today?" "She is going to stick her foot up someone's ass if you don't tell her what is going on," you hiss vehemently, ignoring the fact that Annie is sitting right in your lap. Poe runs his thumb along his lower lip as if trying to figure out what to say. You got a little hostile a few days ago. A few days, you ask, turning from him to Latson. How long have I been in here? A week or so, Latson replies, and you feel a rush of cold air blow over you, although you can't be sure what vent it's coming from, if it was even coming from a vent at all. Well, on your second day, you woke up and you started freaking out. Freaking out? You shake your head to the side as if to clear it. Okay, I don't remember anything. What? You started attacking everyone, Latson says quickly, rubbing the back of his neck. Well... He looks towards Annie, who has begun wrapping the tube that used to be in your hand over and over around his fingers. He didn't, you ask nervously. The last thing he wanted was for Annie to have seen your apparent breakdown. No, Latson assures you, but, yeah, Ray and Luke had to knock you out. You were saying a lot of, weird stuff. Weird stuff, you echo, feeling a blush rise in your cheeks. Do I even want to know? Don't worry about it, Poe says dismissively, but you can't bring yourself to look at him right now, and so you distract yourself by pulling the tubing away from Annie instead. No one blames you. Luke came to visit you again later, but you were still out of it, Latson adds. He said some stuff about the Force bond, but, I don't know. It's stuff we can talk about later. Can I see Dad now? Annie asks, looking up at you. You put one hand on his head as you glance between him and Latson. I'll talk to Grandma about it, you tell him, wincing internally as Annie makes a face. Hey, your dad is You look to Latson to help you out, but he just shakes his head and refuses to meet your eyes. He did some bad stuff, Annie finishes for you, and people are mad at him. Yeah, you say quickly, so he's in timeout. Oh, is Annie's reply. For how long? We'll see, you say, turning to Latson. Go to my room and get my clothes. I want to go back and take a shower. And eat something. I don't think, Latson begins, but you just narrow your eyes at him as you turn to Annie. You've been training with your staff, right? You ask him, and Annie bobs his head up and down. Good man. Go run along with Latson and make sure he does what I tell him to do, all right? Annie smiles, but Latson just shakes his head as he helps Annie hop down off the bed, and Annie gives you one final wave before they sneak out the door. I don't think they're going to just let you leave, Poe tells you. Well, if I attacked everyone, then I can only hope that they're smart enough to stay out of my way, you snap. You can't help but shake your head and curse as you punch one fist into the open palm of your other hand, holding it to your forehead as you groan and lean forward. I need to talk to Ray, you say, or Luke, or whoever. They're gone, Poe tells you, and you crack open one eye to look at him. What? You ask flatly. They're gone, Poe repeats. Luke was able to get out of Ren whatever they needed to do to find Snoke, and he left with Rey and Finn to go find him. He winks at you. They put me in charge of taking care of you. Fantastic, you mutter under your breath. But what did they do with Kylo? Is he still on base? Is he still here? After you passed out, they gave you some drugs to help you sleep, Poe tells you. When you woke up, your shields were completely down, and I guess Ren was able to control you through the Force bond somehow. Luke said you became extremely susceptible to whatever thoughts that Ren put in your head. You were, shouting about how you needed to see him, and, well, some other stuff that it's probably better you don't remember. Fantastic, you mutter again as you roll your eyes. It was bad enough that it happened, worse yet, that Poe, of all people, had to see it. Still didn't answer my question, though. Well, you're angrier than I've ever seen you, Poe says. So I'm just saying, can't you feel him? Right now? You let out a deep breath and put your hands on your knees. Do me a favor and don't talk to me for 5 minutes. You let your eyes slip closed and you stare into the immense blackness ahead of you, reaching out, feeling for anything. You can feel Kylo's anger bubbling in you as if it was your own, and then something else too, a sense of despair, as if he was in pain. He's not that far away, you can sense it, but when you try to reach out to him with your mind, it's just like coming up against a wall and you realize that you won't be able to send him a message. You're not sure if it's his doing or Luke's or Rey's, but you realize that you need to vent his anger and take back control of yourself. And quickly, before you made yourself an even bigger fool than you had apparently already been. You let out another deep breath and try to focus, pretending that you're in the green room with Rey. You picture the darkness around you, but in the back of your mind, you can still hear the bubbling of the water rushing through the stones around you, and you can feel the hot air against your face. It feels really nice compared to the cold, sterile air of the medbay, and you allow yourself to get lost in it as you focus. You picture yourself groping out amongst the warm stones to try to find it, a candle, and once you do, you hold it up in both hands and ignite the wick in your mind, creating a small flicker of light. You watch it grow slightly and consume the wick until it becomes a steady, burning flame that you hold up in both of your hands, accepting it, embracing it, trusting it. You watch the candle slowly melt down for a while, holding it in front of you with a force so that the hot wax won't burn your fingers, and when you open your eyes again, you feel a calm wash over you. You blink a few times as you look around the room, but nothing is different. Nothing has changed, and Poe is watching you expectantly. You mentally try to place a shield in your mind to make sure that Kylo's will won't impress upon yours anymore, but you have no idea how strong it is in your weak state. Okay, I'm better, you say at length as you turn back to face him. Thanks. Don't thank me, he says. You're the one that deserves all the credit. You helped us get out of there. You helped take care of me, and you managed to capture him. You're a hero. You just shake your head. You were not a hero, not by any means, but you didn't want to argue it out with Poe right now, not when you weren't sure how much of a grasp you had on your emotions at the current moment. So I take it you're feeling better? Poe nods his head. And you? How are you feeling? You just shrug your shoulders absentmindedly, not really wanting to answer the question. So pretend I'm not actually talking about this, you say as you prop yourself up on your elbows. But when I was there, Snoke ordered Kylo to kill me, and despite the fact that he didn't actually go through with it, I still want payback. I want to be the one to take Snoke out. You don't suppose they let me join up with Finn and Rey to help me take them out, do you? Not a chance, Poe says with a light chuckle, as if he isn't even taking your request seriously. That information is so top secret, even I don't know where they went off to. Luke thought it would be better if no one knew. He probably told Leia, but I don't even know that for sure. You bite your lip. You know, you shouldn't say it, but you can't exactly help yourself right now. If I can get it out of Ren where Snoke is, would you help me fly out there? I mean, I could probably fly myself, but... Not a chance, Poe repeats with less humor in his voice. Do you even think she's going to let you see him? Everyone knows how strong of a hold he has on you. As you said before, I was weak, you say as patiently as possible. I just need a few days to recover, and then... Why do you want to see him? Poe asks, raising his eyebrows. What could you possibly have to say to him? Annie wants to see him, you tell him firmly, and I need to make sure he's not going to I don't know, I just need to see him first. Poe shakes his head as he looks away, and you felt a flash of anger rise up in you again, but it's not as strong as before. Even still, you realize that if you are going to convince everyone to let you see Kylo Ren, then you are going to have to start acting more or less like your normal self, and the easiest way to do that was to convince everyone that you still had feelings for Poe. Hey, I am not choosing him, if that's what you're worried about. You hesitate, but only for the briefest of moments, letting a touch of genuine sincerity creep into your voice. But I'm sorry that... Hey, don't be sorry, Poe says quickly, and his eyes drop down to your neck before they meet your eyes again. You don't have access to a mirror, but you can only hope that after a week that Kylo's marks have faded slightly. You did what you had to do. And I understand that you have this strong pull to him through the Force, but I know that you're strong enough to resist it, and we can help you get through this. You just force a small smile to your face as you shake your head. You know, you are far too sweet for someone like me. I'm too... You shake your head again, trying to search for the right word. Dark. You're not dark, Poe says with a light chuckle, and there's a confidence in his voice that commands your attention. You're not dark. You're just confused and flawed, just like everyone is. Yeah, but you are not flawed, you say pointedly. You are kind and selfless and flawed, Poe repeats. I'm flattered that you think so, but I am far from perfect. You look away from him, but something draws your eyes back up, and Poe continues talking. I know that you're constantly being pulled between the light and the dark, and especially because of him, you think there's much more darkness in you than there should be, but that is not true. You have so much light in you, and I may not be that sensitive to the Force, but I can still see it. Everyone can. You risked your life out there to help the Resistance, and when the time came, when it really mattered, you weren't overwhelmed by the Force bond. You fought him, and you fought for your friends. He shakes his head. When I think about how much you have been through, and how strong you still are, and how much you still try and you never give up, I can see the light in you. And that's what I'm drawn to. You hated to admit it, but he had a point. He actually made a lot of good points, and for a moment you could admit that you were genuinely and honestly confused. When you were on the Resolute, you hadn't even thought about turning against Rey and escaping with Kylo. Between the two of you, you could have overpowered her easily, but it didn't even occur to you to turn on your friends and try to escape with him. Was it because you had thought that Kylo would really have gone through with killing you moments before? Was it because of the head injury you sustained? Was it because Poe got hurt? For a moment, you don't have to pretend that you have feelings for him, and the fear that you had felt when you were sitting with him on Lectaris Point comes rushing back to you. The chance that you could have a future with Kylo now looks slimmer than before, and for a moment you were honestly confused whether you were still manipulating Poe to serve your own ends, or if you were submerging yourself under the weight of them. Either way, that was something that you could figure out later. For now, the result had to be the same, no matter which way you looked at the situation. You can feel your heart burning in your chest, and you swing your legs out from under the blankets as you rush out of your bed and into his, grabbing his face in both hands as you kiss him as urgently as you can. Easy, Poe teases, running his hand along the top of your head, but you continue to kiss him, ignoring the fact that your lips are chapped and you haven't brushed your teeth in about a week. You couldn't help it. As you kissed him, you couldn't help think that this was what you needed. Kylo had been treating your light as if it was something that had to be extinguished, treating it as a weakness, but Poe saw it for what it was really, a strength. He saw the light and embraced it, much as you had before you had been sent over to Kylo. Now that you were here again, you had to recognize that you were back amongst friends that loved you and wanted the best for you. Kylo was here now too, and you would have to be wary of the Force bond that you shared with him, but if you could embrace what Poe had said, if you could see yourself the way Poe saw you, then maybe this whole thing would be a lot easier. I choose you, you murmur against his lips. I want to be with you. You are so sweet and so thoughtful and so generous, and he's done nothing but hurt me and try to kill me, and... But you still have feelings for him, Poe says, pulling away slightly, and you don't know whether or not you should be concerned by the fact that this doesn't really seem to bother him at all. And it may just be the Force bond, but you went through a lot. Just take some time to think things over, figure things out. There's no need to rush things. Take some time to figure out what you really want, and I'll still be here when you do. Your jaw drops in shock for a moment before you hit his arm lightly, timing each light slap in time to your words. Stop being so perfect. Poe just laughs, and you kiss him one more time, chastely, before you pull away from him, pulling up the sheet that was slipping down your arms. Although you just better hope that Ladson gets back here with my clothes soon, otherwise I am going to freak out again. I hate the medbay, I hate doctors, and I just want to go back to my room and recover there. I better find a way to distract you then, Poe says in a soft voice, and you literally shiver as he runs his fingertips down the smooth skin of your bare back. This is the first time he's touched you in such an intimate way, even after sleeping beside him, and you can't help but be affected by it. You're teasing, you say as you turn back to face him incredulously. Are you seriously teasing me right now? Poe just laughs and you smack his arm again, and you're so busy laughing that you don't even notice that the door has opened and someone has stepped through. Am I interrupting something? Ladson asks as he throws your shirt at you, and you spin around just in time for it to hit you directly in the face. You huff as you pull it off of you, just in time to get hit in the face with your pants. At least you look like you're in a better mood. Not until I've had a shower, you tell him, clutching your clothes to your chest, and Ladson just smiles good-naturedly as he shuts the door again. Your eyes scan the room, but it doesn't look like there's a bathroom or anything to change in. You just shrug as you stand up, plopping your clothes out on Poe's bed so that you can get dressed. You look towards him to see that he's lying back with a grin on his face, his hands covering his eyes. Are you serious right now? You're changing, he says simply. I'm not going to look at you while you're changing. It would be indecent of me. You just shake your head incredulously as you slide off your robe and drop it to the floor so you're standing stark naked in front of him, but his expression doesn't change. He's not peeking. He's really lying there in front of you with his eyes closed in an effort to preserve your modesty. You just shake your head and purse your lips together as you feel a heat rise to your cheeks. Stop being so perfect. But even as you said those words, you couldn't help but feel your spirits dampen a bit. Poe was perfect, or as close to it as you assumed a person could possibly get, anyway. You were not. You were flawed, and you were weak, if your recent outburst was any indication, and yet Poe still seemed to have faith in you that it was only a momentary lapse. You, however, could not be so sure. Kylo was close by now. He was on base, and as long as he was here, you would constantly feel drawn to him. Part of you just wanted to close your eyes and focus hard enough to shut him out for good, but another part of you not only wanted to see him again, but wanted to give in to whatever emotions you had felt towards him back on his Star Destroyer. Despite all that he had done, he was yours, and you were his, and there was nothing that either of you could do to change that. One was too good for you, the other was too wicked. So which side would you choose? The light side or the dark? In truth, you were both. In truth, in this moment, you felt as though you were neither.